We got a big update from the winter meetings here in Dallas. Roki Sasaki's agent, Joel Wolf, addressed the media, answered tons of questions about Roki. Andrew Friedman spoke to us, talks about Teoscar Hernandez, Roki Sasaki. We have so much to get into here on a live episode of Dodgers Dugout.
It's time for Dodger baseball. Welcome to Dodger Stadium.
This is the golden age of Dodger baseball. The Dodgers are building a dynasty.
You got it, Roy, the parade. We got it, parade. The Dodgers punch back and head to the championship series. Tony starts the 50-50 club. Mookie magic. Freeman hits the ball right field. She is gone. Start the party, Los Angeles. Your Dodgers have won the World Series.
Think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out.
What is up, Dodgers Nation, and welcome to another episode of Dodgers Dugout Live, the #1 Dodgers show and podcast on YouTube. My name is Doug McKain, credential member of Dodgers Media. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. Now, if you haven't yet, do me a huge favor, subscribe to the Dodgers Nation YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. Also, let me know down below in the comment section, do you believe that Teoscar Hernandez will ultimately re-sign with the Los Angeles Dodgers? And how confident are you that Roki Sasaki will sign with the Los Angeles Dodgers? We have so much to get into here in Dallas. It was an interesting day because there weren't signings other than Max Fried for another team, of course, but really as far as the Dodgers go, it was really slow. I mean, not too many updates on the advancement of Teoscar Hernandez, but we did get a very interesting comment from Andrew Friedman that we'll talk about in just a second here. But really, we're waiting. The Dodgers, we're in wait-and-see mode as the clock starts to tick on Teoscar Hernandez. Does he go out there and sign with another team? Do the Dodgers get a deal done? Roki Sasaki, there was so much information from his agent Joel Wolf today that he presented, but really only a couple key takeaways. I'm going to give you everything you need to know from that, but let me know down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on the free agency period right now for the Dodgers? Are you more confident? Are you less confident about getting Teoscar Hernandez back? So let me know down below, but let's jump right into it because I was there in Andrew Friedman's suite. There were about less than 10 of us and no video, so you won't be seeing a video upload, but he talked to us for about 20 minutes. And we got a chance to talk to about a lot of the big topics. Teoscar Hernandez, Roki Sasaki, Mookie Betts. I asked him about the future of the shortstop position with Mookie, talking about Roki Sasaki and all the details about his posting and the Dodgers' approach. How much of a priority is he for this team? So we'll get into that. But let's start with all you guys are talking about down below in the comment section in Teoscar Hernandez. And with Teoscar Hernandez, it's been quiet as far as rumors and new teams linked. I mean, there was a story that the Blue Jays have shown interest. MLB insider John Morosi, he told me that the Boston Red Sox are the team to look out for Teoscar Hernandez. The Yankees have reportedly had interest in Teoscar Hernandez. And really the question right now when it comes to Teo is, how did they play their cards? Did they play their cards where either they intentionally or conveniently waited until after Juan Soto signed, and then the teams that did not sign Juan Soto, the Boston Red Sox, the New York Yankees, the Toronto Blue Jays, those teams are going to have more interest. Those teams might be willing to up their offers to Teoscar Hernandez. And that is really the big question right now is what changed after Juan Soto signed? Did the Dodgers get close to having the framework of a deal that both sides were inching closer to, and then the Soto deal gets announced and he goes to the Mets and not the Yankees? Remember what Andy Martino said? He reported after the Soto signing that the Yankees felt like they were in the lead the entire day. And then Stephen Cohen, he upped his offer. He made them an offer he couldn't refuse, and he ultimately signs Soto. There was some talk that Soto wanted a suite and the Yankees didn't give one to Aaron Judge and Derek Jeter, so they didn't want to give it to Soto. And there's all these little things, these little details at the end. And I'm here to tell you that the Mets were probably the worst team that could have signed Soto as it relates to Teoscar Hernandez. Because would the Mets went out there and given Teo all kinds of money? We don't know that. We don't know how interested the Mets would have been into Teoscar Hernandez. Would they have just shifted into premier starting pitcher? Would they have shifted to Alex Bregman or someone else that could help them or shift towards a trade? We don't know that. But we do know that the teams that did not get Soto are also teams that are interested in Teoscar Hernandez. Well, inside Andrew Friedman's suite, he was asked about Teoscar Hernandez, and he told us, quote, "We are hopeful at the same time if he ends up signing somewhere else, we have no choice but to wish him well. And on a personal level, we'll be really happy for him. On a professional level, not so much." So that is a comment that you can take as, well, are they sticking to their original offer? Are they allowing him to do what they do with all their free agents and go out there and test the market? I think it's a little bit of both. I think that this Dodgers organization, outside of a few players in the last 10 to 15 years, and we're talking about future Hall of Famers, guys like Clayton Kershaw and Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So those handful of players that the Dodgers are, one, extremely competitive to go out there and sign, and they're willing to extend an offer to them that is beyond what they were originally intending to offer them. Remember what Andrew Friedman said a couple seasons ago. It was like 2016, 2017. He said that if you are realistic about a free agent, if you're realistic financially about a free agent, you're going to finish in third place to sign that free agent every single time. And we know that when the Dodgers love a player and that player checks off a ton of boxes for them, whether it be role, whether it be upside, whether it be age, whether it be how marketable that player is, that they're willing to spend big. And I think with Teoscar Hernandez, they have their price. They have the contract that they're comfortable with him signing. But my biggest takeaway here is they're not desperate for Teo. They don't want to get into a bidding war for Teo. They're not fielding offers where Teoscar Hernandez's agent comes back to the Dodgers and said, "Oh, X team is offering this. Can you match? Oh, this team is offering a fourth year." I'm just throwing out hypotheticals. A fourth year at this amount. And the Dodgers are kind of like, "Oh, wow, well, we got to up our offer because we want Teoscar Hernandez in Dodger blue." No, I think they're saying that, hey, yeah, I mean, there's some wiggle room with our offer. There's some flexibility here, but they're not going to completely go for broke on Teo. And I think another thing that's happened in my eyes is when you look at these signings, every player essentially is going over projection. Max Fried, over $200 million. Juan Soto, I mean, he could make $800 million at the end of that contract. A lot of these recent signings are going for more. Look at Alex Bregman. What is he going to get? Now that Scott Boras has Juan Soto off the table, you know what his plan is. It's to get Alex Bregman the biggest deal that he can make. So when there are names that fall off the board and there's a little bit of scarcity and teams haven't made that big signing, that big splash that they were hoping to make, that's when you start to see the market shift a little bit. And I don't think the market has necessarily exploded for Teoscar Hernandez, but clearly it's more robust now with more teams that are interested in him and more teams that are interested in him that were interested in spending money this offseason. The Blue Jays, they wanted Soto. They offered him a ton of money. Yankees, Red Sox as well. So those are teams that have money to spend. They have a window with their current roster where you need an outfielder. You need a guy that can step in right away and help you win. And Teoscar Hernandez has certainly proven the ability to do that. So I think at this point, I wouldn't take what Andrew Friedman said. And like I said, I was in that room standing a few feet away from Andrew Friedman. This wasn't him saying he gone or saying anything like he's out or anything like that. That wasn't the case. That was the Dodgers being pragmatic, trying to go through their process. They're not going to panic. They're not going to get emotional. I don't care who the player is. Teoscar Hernandez, I think when they signed him for 1 year, I think they liked him. I think they thought he had the potential, and they fell in love with him along the way. And how do you fall in love with a player along the way? He makes the All-Star team. He hits 33 home runs. He wins the home run derby. He was clutch throughout the postseason. He becomes a fan favorite. He was great in the clubhouse. He started the Sunflower Seeds home run celebration. He's got that $1 million megawatt smile that people fell in love with, his teammates and Dodgers fans. So I think that it was one of those situations where the Dodgers saw an opportunity to bring in a player last offseason that could fill a role, could rake against left-handed pitching, that could also hit both sides and be clutch. And he certainly did that. So in some ways, you can look at this as, yeah, if they don't sign Teoscar Hernandez, it was mission accomplished, right? You signed a guy to a 1-year deal. He was great for you. You won with him, and you just weren't comfortable with the overall price that he was after. Now, I'm not here to tell you that they're not going to sign Teoscar Hernandez. Like, I've been told by multiple insiders at this point and other sources that clearly the Dodgers are still, interested, and that the door is still wide open for him to return to the Dodgers. Yesterday, when Dave Roberts spoke with us, I asked him, I said, hey, Dave, how tough would it be to replace what Teoscar Hernandez brings to the clubhouse, what he brings to this lineup? And Dave Roberts, it was pretty clear how he feels about Teoscar Hernandez. Here's what Dave told me.
Tano is currently still a free agent. How difficult would it be to replace his production lineup and his presence in the clubhouse?
It'd be tough. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Teo. We have a great relationship. I thought his words, he loved everything about being a Dodger. And I'm always going to be a Teo fan. And, there's not a whole lot of guys that can, start, call it 157, 158 ball games and post. And then to be that productive. And then you layer in on playing in a big market, helping us win a championship. So those players don't come around very often. But obviously, Teo's put himself in a very good position as a free agent, and his walk here having a very productive year. So he's got some decisions to make as well. And so he's going to kind of suss those out. But yeah, I mean, it'd be hard for me not to see him coming back.
So you hear that right there. One, I mean, he made abundantly clear that he wants to see him back with this group, that it would be difficult to see this lineup in this clubhouse and this team without Teoscar Hernandez back. But he also said something similar to what Andrew Friedman told us, in that he's got to go through this process. He has to do what's best for him. Here's the full quote from Andrew Friedman and what he told us today. And I think when you kind of get the full quote, you kind of see how it wasn't, oh, we're hopeful, but if he's gone, we'll be upset about it. No, he said, one, it's hard for him to answer. Right? He said, it's hard for me to answer, of course. He's a free agent, so he's not going to go into great detail. But he said, it's hard for me to answer. He had a really good year. He put himself in a great position, and I know he has talked about wanting to, and I know that we have talked about wanting to, and of course he's talking about re-signing him and him re-signing back with the Dodgers, and he and his family get to go through the interest and figure out what makes the most sense for them. So while we're hopeful, at the same time, if he ends up signing somewhere else, we have no choice but to wish him well. And on a personal level, we'll be really happy for him, and professionally, not so much. So they know that at the very least, there is a legitimate possibility that he could sign with another team, that there is genuine interest and competitive offers on other clubs. And you can't get desperate if you're Andrew Friedman. You can't panic, like I said. And sure, you look at what they're saving in money, the profit they're making on Shohei Ohtani. You look at the overall roster, you say, well, it doesn't matter, just pay the man his money. That's not how it works, right? You can't give everyone $20, $30, $40 million over their value. That's just not how it works. I mean, that's not how they're going to do business. You can't set that precedent. And I think, for me, it's pretty clear that the process of this all is going to figure out itself one way or the other. And who knows what the holdup is? Because he can't just say, oh, if you're Teoscar Hernandez, the Dodgers give me 3 years, $75 million, whatever it may be hypothetically, I'm just going to sign that when another team is potentially throwing out a 4th year, maybe getting into the $100 million range, right? These are massive decisions that impact more than just Teoscar Hernandez. It's families, it's generations of families at this point financially. It's teams, it's locations, it's lifestyle. Look, I mean, I love what Andrew Friedman pointed out. He earned this. He earned this. He put himself in this position. You know what would be bad here is if the Dodgers didn't want Teo back because he wasn't good in the postseason and wasn't healthy in the regular season, didn't have an all-star year. And from Teo's point of view, what wouldn't be good is if the Dodgers didn't want him back. And I'm here to tell you that, look, I think they're hopeful. How confident they are, I think that kind of depends on kind of the balancing act of happy in Los Angeles, want to compete for World Series versus wanting to get more money somewhere else. Because I think it's pretty obvious at this point, and yes, I'm just speculating here, but just making some educated speculation here. I think it's pretty obvious at this point one thing. And that thing is that the Dodgers aren't currently offering Teoscar Hernandez either the most money or the most years. Because I'm here to tell you that if the Dodgers had the very best offer on the table for Teoscar Hernandez, he'd be signed already because of how much he wants to be here. So I also think, too, that that's not necessarily a massive leverage play for Teo's side, right? It's not a situation, like I said, we're going to come back and match this, match that. You're going to big time the Dodgers into getting the deal you want. I don't think that is the case, because I think the differences between the Juan Soto free agency and the Dodgers' role in that versus this is, I think it's close. But if you're Teo, I don't think the gap is where the Dodgers were and the Yankees and the Mets were, and most likely the Toronto Blue Jays were for Juan Soto. The gap from the Dodgers and other teams was wide for Juan Soto. I don't think the gap for Teo and the other teams that he's currently considering signing with is as wide. But still, you have to remember this. Teoscar Hernandez, he's not going to be a guy that sets himself up for a big opt-out and a guy that sets himself up for another big deal. He is already 32. So he has to look at this as his last opportunity for a big payday. This is the last opportunity that Teoscar Hernandez has to sign a contract worth north of $100 million. This is the last time that he's going to get an opportunity to do that. So if you care about Teoscar Hernandez, you should as well want him to make the best decision for himself, his career, his family. Because, I mean, that's how I look at this, too. I mean, look, man, get the bag, right? He loves the Dodgers. Does he love the Dodgers to the point where he'd take a year less, $25 million less, $20 million less? I mean, that, to me, is a little bit of a stretch. If you're the Dodgers, too, you look at Teoscar Hernandez. He's 32. I still think you can get 3 really good years out of Teoscar Hernandez. I still think he can be an all-star hitter that has a very defined role on this team. And you look at the outfield picture, they need outfielders. Andrew also told us that they love the signing, of course, of Michael Conforto. He hit better outside of Oracle Park. He hit better against lefties last season, had these reverse splits. They saw the quality in him. But it was very clear that signing Conforto wasn't, oh, we're signing Teoscar Hernandez as a replacement. No, they need outfield depth. They need outfield depth because Mookie Betts is going back in the infield. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. They did re-sign Tom Yemen, who'll be in center field. And Mookie going to the infield also kind of opens the door, too, for the potential of Dalton Rushing playing a corner outfield spot at some point next season. But I think that if I'm a Dodgers fan right now, how can you look at anything they've done in the last decade plus, anything they've done the last year, and kind of question what they're doing? Because this is a team that, despite injuries, despite having to play the hottest team in the first round, despite having to go through the two New York teams, despite having just 3 starting pitchers, they found a way to win the World Series. Now, Teoscar Hernandez is someone that Dave told me, like he said, very tough to replace, very difficult to replace. And hopefully we won't have to see them have to try to do that. But I think that you just have to go along with this process and see, maybe at the end, they can find a common ground. But I'm here to tell you that the reason why this deal isn't done yet is because there still is a gap. There's a gap from the Dodgers. There's a gap from Teoscar Hernandez, and they're not happy with the contract the Dodgers are offering at this point. And the Dodgers are saying, hey, this is our deal. And you're not going to see the Dodgers budge, let some other players. And look, I mean, the Dodgers have the resources from a prospect capital standpoint, from a financial standpoint, from the ability to absorb contracts, to go out there and fill holes. Look, Kyle Tucker, we talked about it today, Noah and I at the winter meetings. I mean, Kyle Tucker is an extremely talented outfielder, has one more year of team control, that truly is someone that, if he could stay healthy for a whole year, I mean, you're talking about a first-team All-MLB, a MVP candidate if everything goes right. I'm not saying that that's the move, but this organization has a way to pivot when they're looking for a bat. And Teoscar Hernandez is someone that the defensive metrics are better in right field. Left field, they were not good. They were close to league worse in that group, in that pile of players. So you factor in that too for the course of that contract. And I think if you are the Dodgers, the reason you don't want to give the years, not necessarily the money, it's the logjam. It's the fact that at 33, 34, 35, if the defense declines, and right field, the metrics show he can get it done at a league average level. Left field, not as much. He hadn't played there since 2021. He had not played there since 2023. And I think for me, what it comes down to with Teoscar Hernandez is the simple fact that you really need to go out there, do what's best for yourself, and find a way to get a deal done. And if it's with the Dodgers, that'd be amazing. If it's with another team, then that's your career. But I would not lose hope on Teoscar Hernandez if I was a Dodger fan. But I'm going to open this up. Let me know down below in the comment section. Do you believe that Teoscar Hernandez, one second here, guys, is a risk to sign with another team? And who do you think is the biggest threat to sign with that other team? Let me know down below in the comment section here. 1 second. Should just probably not even touch that. It's all good. But yeah, let me read your comments here, guys. 1 second here. Here we go. Let's watch some Teo B-roll. Let's see. And we're talking about Roki Sasaki next too in a second here. But yeah, you know what? Let's watch some Roki B-roll right here.
I'm going to read some of these comments while D-Mac is doing that here. We got a lot of talk about the Red Sox. I see some Mets. I see Blue Jays. Someone says he ain't shaving, so he's not going to the Yankees. Yeah, that's probably a good one there. Someone said Teo going to Boston or the Yankees. We got Teo. Yeah, we got Boston. We got Red Sox get Teo. So I don't see a lot of Dodgers. I'm going to be honest, unless I don't know if you asked if it was a specific team, but we got Red Sox. We got, if Teo wants to win, why would he go to the Red Sox? That's from Tina Guzman. DC says, from what Friedman and Roberts have said, Teo's gone. That's an interesting one. Barry does not even want to add the energy that Teo might be gone.
Yeah, and I think that that's the thing. I think that people took that as okay. Teoscar Hernandez is a problem with him. You got Teo and Bellinger to the Yankees. That is from Romero. He gone from. So a lot of you guys losing hope on Teoscar Hernandez. We're trying to get you guys some more info. Teo to Boston. Yeah, I mean, I was told that Boston, at least as of yesterday, was the biggest threat to sign Teoscar Hernandez, but let this thing play out. I think that if you're a Teoscar Hernandez fan and you want to see him back with the Dodgers, that the number one thing right now that you need to know is that they still want him, and they still want him back, but it's going to be at their price. Like I said, the Dodgers, they give out the big bags to the players they truly are absolutely in love with, and I think they absolutely love what Teoscar Hernandez brings. But I don't think that as an organization, they think that, oh, if we don't re-sign Teoscar Hernandez, we won't be World Series contenders. We won't get back to the World Series. I don't think they view him as a Shohei or a Mookie or a Freddie or someone like that. And that's just the truth. I mean, we can have a conversation about fan favorites and this and that, but I'm just trying to give you guys the truth of it all. So let's switch gears, though. We'll get back to Teo. I'm gonna open this up, too. I want to take all your questions, too, because we got Noah. He's looking for your takes, and we'll get all your questions in as well. But I want to give you guys all the news, because I want to switch to Mookie real quick, and then we're going to talk Roki Sasaki, because lots of stuff about Roki Sasaki, but I want to fit in some Mookie real here. So it's kind of being just squeezed in here during the winter meetings. But I think there's a much bigger story than a lot of people are really leading on with it. I mean, Mookie Betts playing shortstop for an entire season, it's something that, look, it's going to be a bold move. I mean, Mookie is at an age where most shortstops change positions. Most shortstops change positions because the older you get, the position gets tougher to play, just because it's a very physically demanding position. It is a position that takes a toll on your body. Miguel Rojas told me that when you wake up the next day after playing a game at shortstop where you have a lot of putouts, where you are in demand, and then you're also producing at the plate, it starts to wear on you. And that even players that don't admit it, Miguel Rojas told me that even players that won't admit it, the truth of the matter is, at some point you go to the ballpark after playing shortstop so many days consecutively that, man, the bat speed, just the feel at the plate, I mean, it just takes a lot on your body. And there's also the injury risks too, so you want to keep Mookie on the field. But here's what Andrew Friedman had to tell me about Mookie Betts. So I asked Friedman, Mr. Andrew Friedman, about Mookie Betts, and he really broke it down, man. He really broke it down, kind of the thought process behind it, how he needed to improve, why there's a chance that he really figures things out, why they feel good about him getting this opportunity in year 2. Friedman told me when I asked him, is this permanent? Because I think that's a real big key during these situations, during the offseason. Can you get them to tell you something's permanent, something's set in stone? Because if they're saying, no, right now it's where we're going, that just means, oh, right now it's the move, but if we sign X player, if we trade for X player, everything changes. But when they say it's set in stone, it kind of really gives you an idea of the direction of this roster, of where they are headed and what the goal is for this team. And Mookie Betts said that he wanted to be in the infield. And I think that that is where we need to start. Mookie made it very clear to this organization that he wants to be on the dirt. He wants to be in the infield. And yes, he is a 6-time Gold Glove Award winning right fielder. Yes, he's one of the best defensive right fielders of his generation. But the defensive metrics of him in right aren't what they were when he was a Gold Glover. He's not a bad right fielder, right? But they're not where it was when he was at the peak of his powers in his absolute defensive prime. I still think he can hit as good as he has throughout his entire career. And the truth is, you got to keep Mookie happy. And Mookie wants to play in the infield. Now, the problem there is you got Gavin Lux at second, and Gavin Lux at second base. Defensively, he was above average. After the All-Star break, he was a top 13 hitter in Major League Baseball, and he's under a cost-controlled contract for the next couple of seasons. So he doesn't require that elite all-star level money. And you want to hit on as many of those guys as you possibly can. He was a former top prospect for this organization that internally they love as a person, as a player. Teammates love Gavin Lux. So that means the only option in the infield, if you're going to have Gavin Lux at second base, is shortstop. And when I asked Andrew Freeman if it was permanent for Mookie Betts at shortstop, Andrew told me he's dead set on it. He's very confident about it. And I will happily take the side of betting on Mookie and let any fool that wants to take the other side. So I love that, man. He's like, hey, I'm betting on my guy. I am never going to doubt Marcus Lynn Betts, because if he wants to be good at something, if he wants to be great or elite at something, it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of reps. And I think that is the thought process here between the organization and between Mookie Betts. You've seen the videos of Mookie bowling and dunking a basketball, and you've seen the videos of him playing football and all things he can do. Just look at Mookie as a podcaster. I mean, first couple episodes till now, it's like he's a different guy. He got so comfortable. He's really awesome at it now, and how he can get stuff out of players. He makes them feel comfortable. I really enjoy Mookie Betts' podcast. He's someone that's a high achiever that through reps gets better at something. So Friedman's saying, I'm betting on my guy. He'll go on to say he handled the difficulties of that position really well, the way he got off the ball, the range circle, the way the hands worked. He's had a hard time getting to his arm. So he said he's had a hard time getting to his arm. And what Andrew's saying by that is getting himself in that shortstop position where he's making the exchange, setting those feet, and making the throw to short. So it's never going to be an arm strength thing for Mookie Betts. You know he can make the throw. It's just about getting in those fluid shortstop-like positions where you can execute those throws, make them at different angles, and deliver them quickly. So he said that he had a hard time getting to his arm, and for a guy that is as talented as he is from an arm perspective, you know he kind of forced it into him. So that's another thing to consider too, is the whole Mookie Betts shortstop experiences, that was out of necessity. And they just had no answer. So Mookie was thrusted into that role. He said, we kind of forced him into it on the fly last March. And at this point, he has this whole offseason. And he said that Mookie was kind of selling them on the fact that he has an offseason to train for this and get his body into position to learn, and that he has no doubt that he can figure it out. So he told me they're going to give him every chance to do that, and that they weren't going to bet against him. And when it comes to could he be a shortstop past next season, he said that, look, I mean, he certainly has the talent to do it. We think he can do it, but we're just kind of going to focus on what's in front of them. So I think it's pretty clear at this point. One, they probably weren't even close to any kind of deal with Willy Adames, that Willy Adames was never an option for them, because that was the plan for them, and it was going to focus on pitching, focus on bringing back Teoscar Hernandez, focus on getting an outfielder, focus on being a player in the Juan Soto sweepstakes. So there's that. They're not going to be involved in a Bo Bichette trade. You're not going to see Tommy Edman at shortstop. So it's pretty clear. Mookie Betts is going to be the shortstop for the Los Angeles Dodgers at age 32 in a position where before last season, he hadn't played on a full-time level since A-ball, since low A. All the way back when he was in the Red Sox organization. So that is going to be a major storyline heading into next season. And I think the big question is, how does he look right away? Like, I mean, how big of a jump has he taken this offseason? How much work has he been putting in this offseason? That's the first thing I want to ask Mookie. I mean, what was your routine? How comfortable are you? What's the biggest difference between the way you're playing the position now to the way you're playing it at a full-time level last season? Because if you look at the numbers, the defensive numbers where 0 is league average, he was a -4 outs above average at shortstop. So that's not awful. That's not great. If you look at some of the other stuff, UZR and things like that, those numbers don't favor him, but it takes a large sample size for defensive metrics to tell the full story. And I think, too, you got to look at the overall production, because this is the number one thing I think you need to know about Mookie Betts playing at shortstop. If you can play shortstop at an average level or anywhere close to an average level and be a all-star bat, hit 30 plus home runs, have a weighted runs created plus north of 140, then the net of his value is 100% going to make up for any defensive deficiencies. Going to make up for the fact that he can't play defense at a Miguel Rojas level, because you have to look at the net of how he can hit and the value he provides and what he can still do for this team. So look, I mean, the biggest key is, can he stay healthy? Can the bat continue to produce, or will he start this position and get off to a slow start? Because that's going to be the big question. If he gets off to a slow start and he's not hitting well, and he's playing shortstop and he's having the occasional error and this and that, then you're going to start to see the conversation. But hey, man, give Mookie Betts a lot of credit. This is courageous. This is one of the boldest things. No one's really saying this. It's one of the boldest things we've seen from a superstar baseball player in the last 5 or 10 years. I mean, really, it truly is. A guy that does not need to do this is embracing this challenge, because there's just not a lot of shortstops that make sense. Like I said in the last show, I don't want to see Carlos Correa in Dodger blue. Period. End of story. Point blank. You don't deserve to wear this or use this uniform. Look, I'm just going to put that out there, right? And he gets injured too, right? He's a player that has dealt with injury issues throughout his entire career. How much longer would he be at shortstop? Because one thing you need to know about when you pay a shortstop, it's usually when they're a free agent. When they're 28, 29, 30, how much longer do they stay at shortstop and how well they play in that position once they get into their 30s? So that's why I don't think the Dodgers love the idea of spending big on a shortstop, because you do get natural regression and they realize you have to spread those resources out to other positions. And I'm fine with it right now. Just because of the options. Like, I don't want to see Ha-Seong Kim on a 1-year deal with his shoulder, right? I mean, I think BL Boy D-Mac, why are you softening the Mookie shortstop stance? It's, for me, the change of it is the lack of options. Now that Adames is not on the table, then what's the other option? Miguel Rojas can't play that position at a full-time level. Gavin Lux, even though I've said that I think that I would be willing to see what he can do at that position moving forward, clearly that's not what they want to do. So I'm basing my opinion, my position right now on the options that they do have. Now, as you know, last season I wasn't huge on it, but now when you look at an entire offseason, Mookie Betts, I mean, maybe it's because Andrew Friedman did look me in my eye and tell me that he wouldn't bet against Mookie Betts, and that you'd be a fool to bet against him. So look, Mookie's proven people wrong his entire life. People thought he was small and frail and wasn't going to be this great player, and he certainly has proven to be that. But I also say, too, at the beginning of the season, it gives you an opportunity to see what you have. And if you don't like what you see with Mookie Betts, hey, you at least got the early part of the season to evaluate, and then you can assess what you have in him. But let me know down below in the comment section. Do you like the idea of Mookie Betts at shortstop? I'm down for Kim at shortstop. That's the thing, though. It's a Band-Aid situation, or that's a risk too. Kim doesn't have a lot of power. He's had the shoulder injury. Clearly, he's not a part of their plans. Think about this. If they were at all interested in Ha-Seong Kim, who honestly, I was told in Korea earlier this year that he wanted to be a Dodger, that there was kind of a natural little thing there from his end, and the Dodgers were going to pay him 1 year, 12, 15 million, some type of 1 year deal. 100% he'd take that for sure, right? But there's the depth issue in the logjam. You got F. Correa from Ed Rocks, missed out on Adames. That's what I'm saying, Ray Brios. With Adames off the table, there's not a lot of options. And that's what I was saying about the Nolan Arenado trade situation, that with the Nolan Arenado trade situation is interesting, because if you did have him at third base, that would help strengthen the left side of your infield, and you could live with Mookie at shortstop if he was going to take his lumps and bumps and bruises along the way, because it helps you a little bit having a really good third baseman, right? Now you got Muncy, who last year was league average when he was in there, but that's kind of a question too, is how effective is that left side going to be? But yeah, we can talk about Nolan Arenado really quick, because Bob Nightingale, I'm going to catch up with tomorrow. Bob Nightingale had in his latest piece that was talking about some of the Nuggets at the winter meetings, that the Dodgers are a team that clearly, I mean, I don't think that's any secret. Clearly, they're a team that he would waive his full no trade clause to. And Bob Nightingale wrote, the St. Louis Cardinals have informed third baseman Nolan Arenado that they will do everything possible to trade him this winter and have even granted permission to his agent to help facilitate a deal. Arenado wants to be traded to a contender with the World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers, his personal first choice, but is willing to waive his no trade clause for, quote, more teams than you would think. Agent Joel Wolf said. And I talked to Nolan Arenado's agent today, Joel Wolf, and kind of one of the things that he said was pretty clear to me that this is a very transparent process between Nolan Arenado and the St. Louis Cardinals. That the Cardinals don't have to trade him, but they have made it known they're actively looking to trade him to try to kind of reset things, give them some more flexibility from a payroll standpoint. And hey, you negotiate a full no trade clause, you have leverage in a potential deal. We've heard that the Yankees are a team that could be interested. There's going to be teams interested in Nolan Arenado. He's still owed around $74 million. You look at the contracts that have been given out. Look at what Alex Bregman's going to sign for. I mean, if you can get him to get his bat even close to where it was just a few seasons ago, then you're looking at a high-value contract. I mean, he's still at a 95th percentile, a 10 outs above average level third baseman. This is a platinum glover, someone who's truly 100% in the conversation for being one of, if not the best defensive third basemen in the history of this sport. Not this generation, in the history of this sport. And what Joel Wolf told us today, I mean, it looks like the Dodgers are a perfect team. It looks like the Dodgers are a perfect team. Joel Wolf, he told us a team that he thinks is going to win now and consistently for the remainder of his career. He wants a team that has the throttle down. So asked him about what a preferred destination looks like. What does a preferred destination look like where he'd be willing to waive his full no trade clause? What would that look like? And what he said was what I just read you. A team that he thinks is going to win now, check. The Dodgers as win now as any team in Major League Baseball and consistently for the remainder of his career. So that, to me, should give the Dodgers the edge. There's no guarantee the Mets are going to win consistently. Have they proven it? What's their track record? The Yankees? Yeah, you've been in the postseason. You missed some too. Haven't won since 2009. The Dodgers, 13 straight postseason appearances. Death, taxes, and the Dodgers playing October baseball. You are going to get a ticket to the dance when you're in LA. So check. Last one, he wants a team that has the throttle down. Is there any, the Dodgers are going 150 on the freeway, okay? Is there anyone that's as full throttle as the Dodgers in all of sports? You committed $1.4 billion last offseason, and you've already dropped a really nice bag, $182 million on Blake Snell. You're very active and aggressive this offseason. So the Dodgers are certainly a team that fits that description. I know my guy Jim Riley, Ball Cap Sports, he threw out a deal that included Chris Taylor and Tony Gonsolin for Nolan Arenado. The Dodgers would have to include more than that, okay? They still, because they don't need to trade him per se if you're the Cardinals. They're still under the CBT threshold amount for the following season, for the upcoming season, but you would definitely have to sweeten the pie, right? You definitely would have to include more than that. It's just a question of what would you do with Max Muncy? Because Max Muncy's on a $14 million deal, has a club option for $10 million for the 2026 season. He's still a guy that 3-WAR player when he's right, can hit you 30-plus home runs, can get you close to 100 RBI. He's big in the clubhouse. He's a great presence. Could you move Muncy to second base? And then what would you do with Gavin Lux? Would you then trade Gavin Lux? Would you include him in a deal for possibly, hypothetically, dream scenario for a Devin Williams type if you're looking to move him? Or do you say that, no, Gavin Lux still provides a lot of value at second base? So that's another question that you kind of have. But they do have flexibility. They do have ways to move around. And I think one of the big questions would be, do you trust Max Muncy after the restricted shift to play second base? Because he's getting a little older. Does he have the range? Could you see a keystone combination of a Mookie Betts and Max Muncy there, a shortstop and a second sacker? I don't know. But let me know down below in the comment section. Do you like the idea of Nolan Arenado on the Los Angeles Dodgers? Let me know down below in the comment section because, hey, like I said, you got Mookie at short. You want to make life easier on the left side? Bring in a Platinum Glover. That's something that's really interesting. I see people saying he's washed too. Hey, I think that Dodgers would be a much better situation for him. That's for sure. Ellis Shiva Jones, if we're going to be rational about Teoscar, let's be rational about Mookie. Mookie is not good at shortstop. Ellis Shiva Jones, I like how you delivered that take. It's pretty fire right there. I'm going to give you a fire take. And you guys know, I mean, I just think right now, unless you're going to trade for a center fielder and put Edman at shortstop, I mean, if you're going to trade, I mean, really the perfect place is second base for Mookie Betts, but clearly that's not their thinking right now. That's not the right now. I remember talking to Dino Ebel. Dino told me, if you just, like, one thing Dino Ebel told me was, can you imagine what Mookie would have looked like if he didn't sustain that injury and did not miss 2 months? Could it be one of the best stories in baseball, right? Because he told me that he was really starting to figure things out. Things were really starting to click for him. He was really starting to figure out not just the in-game, the ability to make plays, the ability to make the routine plays, the ability to kind of have it be second nature, but he's also figuring out his routine. He's also figuring out how much he needed to do before games. That was kind of one of my big red flags was him spending hours and hours and hours before game getting ready at shortstop. And taking ground balls at short was always a big part of Mookie Betts' routine, even when he was at right and taking infield stuff. But that was kind of my thing. So we'll see if full off season, it can be a different story. And Nolan Arenado, like I said, we kind of did a little breakdown of him a little earlier, a couple of weeks ago. But is Alex Freeland ready? Frank, he's not ready, but lots of talent there. Danny Boy, he is a shortstop. Who is fixing his bat? We got CT3 and Lux to move to Cardinals, move Muncy to second. DT Wong, Arenado makes no sense. Imagine a double play combo of Mookie and Muncy. Nolan deal will force Muncy out. Yeah, I mean, that's something you have to always consider too. Second base and shortstop. And the combination there. Scarlet and Blue, Dodgers are not trading for Arenado. No reason to even say anything else. I mean, they were interested in him a couple seasons ago. They're interested in him in 2023. There were definitely conversations that were had at the trade deadline in 2023. So, I mean, I would say that there's not a 0% chance, that's for sure. A B920 trade Nag, Gonsolin, and CT3 for Nolan Arenado. Tina Guzman, CT3 and Gonsolin for Nolan. Yeah, drop your trade packages for a Nolan Arenado. Let me know down below. We got Arenado wants a carry. Please, God, no. Can't fix age. Brian Crow. Yeah, but at the same token, I'm not pounding my fist on the table for Nolan Arenado, but you're not trading, you're not absorbing like a 10-year contract or even a 5-year contract. Muncy is terrible defensively at second. LOL. Benjamin. Yeah, I mean, he claims that's his. I mean, he was claiming for a while that was his favorite position to play as far as reads off the bat. But yeah, I do have my doubts about Max Muncy at second. There's no doubt about it. All gas, no break. Yeah, absolutely. What up, Truth? Outlaw Nando 390 not signing Teo is mid throttle. What's up, Nando? Nando, guys, why are we acting like this is over? Why are we acting like Teo's a Yankee, a Red Sox, a Blue Jay? That's nightmare fuel right now. Okay. Let's let things play out. Let's see if they can get a deal done. The market's changed. Let's be honest. Some of these contracts you're seeing right now, they've come to a surprise. John Morosi told me that a lot of the agents, that they're viewing this winter meetings as, wow, we're kind of blown away. And that's what John Morosi told me. They're a little blown away by how much healthier the market is this year compared to last year. Last year, dealing with the regional sports network issues for some teams. There are teams out there that are willing to spend money. And that's why you're seeing most guys go over projection. Look, even Blake Trinan got $22 million. He was over projection. Max Fried, over $200 million. As Noah Cameron's pointed out, that Blake Snell deal is looking better by the day. So there's a benefit to getting on guys early. And I mentioned it on this show last week that if the Dodgers could get a deal done before the Soto signing, they could probably save some on the back end. But hey, they're going through their process. But here we go. Imagine if we could swing Muncy and Chris Taylor for Arenado and Helsley. They want, one of the things that Andrew Friedman told us even after signing Blake Trinan, and he kind of lumped it into you can never have enough pitching. It's very clear that they want to add another reliever. Dave Roberts said on Mookie Betts' podcast when he was asked about his wish list that he wanted a reliever back, and then he kind of hinted at another high leverage reliever. I think it's pretty clear that they were talking about Tanner Scott. Fabian Ardaya of The Athletic, he did mention the Dodgers have interest in Tanner Scott. So, look, Tanner Scott, I mean, he's big time. Tanner Scott is a very talented high leverage reliever. And you look at the Padres, they gave up 3 of their top prospects just to get a rental of a reliever. So he'd cost a pretty penny for a guy like Tanner Scott. So there's something there. So Helsley is a name that should intrigue a lot of teams. So keep going down below in the comments section and let me know down below. I mean, thoughts on Arenado, thoughts on Mookie Betts playing shortstop, thoughts on Roki Sasaki, because we'll talk about that. Brian Crow is very against Arenado. Brian, I respect your opinion, by the way. No Doug, CT3 and Gonsolin is too much for that issue. S-wordy, it's a family show, kids watch this show, contract. Yeah, it depends how you look at it. A Nolan Arenado from a couple seasons ago he's still above average bat, right? I mean, it's not like he had completely fallen off a cliff. But Dave does that. Muncy made a play after play at third. Aside from the World Series, his bat was hot. Blue fan. It was bad to get him in the World Series. Took the walks in the Met Series. Had some big moments as well. Trade lugs for Matt. We got Jonathan. Freeman will never let you know what he's thinking when deals are in play. Hey, what I always say, Andrew Friedman only speaks when it's time to say checkmate. But I also think he does give some really good insight too. There's no doubt about that. Just kind of, you had to speak fluent Friedman. And I'm like, I took like AP Friedman. All right, you got to kind of dive into some of these things to kind of extrapolate things and try to see the message. And the big takeaway on this one too had to be what he said about Roki Sasaki. And that's what we're going to talk about next. So that's the big talk here. The big talk here in Dallas today, all the buzz was about Roki Sasaki because before Andrew Friedman spoke to us later in the day, Roki's agent, Joel Wolf, he talked to reporters, and that was the biggest scrum I've ever seen here. Scott Boras, some pretty big scrums. This is bigger than anything I've even seen with Scott Boras. There were so many people, Japanese media from all around the country here to listen to Roki Sasaki's agent. I think part of the reason why is because there's been tons of speculation about Roki and not very much concrete information. Lots of rumors that even he has already tried to debunk even before meeting with us today. But Joe Wolf really he was throwing out a lot of things that you'd expect an agent to say about someone like Roki Sasaki, in that, yeah, they're definitely going to be casting a wide net here. They're going to be looking at a lot of teams when it comes to Roki Sasaki. And teams are going to be able to get their pitches in. They're going to have opportunities to try to impress them and convince Roki that he's the best fit. Now, what are the things I think you need to know? Because it's a 25-minute press conference. He was asked the same question a couple different times. The things you need to know about Roki is that the process for him moving forward is going to be methodical. There's, like he said, no cookie cutter date, no cookie cutter strategy. They're going to open things up. And they wanted to make sure that this was a fair process. And that's what this is. And as far as the Dodgers presentation, well, Joel Wolf mentioned that it's going to be a scenario where he comes back and he meets with teams face to face. So you're going to have video presentations. They're going to be able to recruit him and pitch to them why he should sign with this organization. Now, he was asked, why would he want to come now? Why would he want to come now when in a couple years you could sign a deal like Yoshinobu Yamamoto, that you could sign a $300+ million contract? Well, he said it's a difficult question to answer. There's no absolutes in baseball. For Roki's eyes, there are no absolutes. He does not take anything for granted. It's not a lock that 2 years from now that he's going to get a Yamamoto contract. You got the epidemic of injuries. He's dealt with shoulder inflammation. He's had a abductor injury, an oblique injury. So you just never know, right? So you remember what I was telling you a couple weeks ago about his decision to come to here, his decision to come to the show. And I told you that what I had heard was that during the WBC, he got a taste of what it was like to pitch against the big boys, to play with the big boys. And Joel Wolf said just that when he was at the WBC, when he was around Major League Baseball players, it rubbed off on him. And he realized that this is what he wanted to do as soon as possible. And that he wanted to be in the show since he was 18, that he wanted to face the toughest competition. And the big questions that were presented to him as far as kind of the big factors, I mean, he was asked about playing with other Japanese players, playing with Yu Darvish potentially, playing with Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto potentially. He said with Roki, we don't know. That it could be an obstacle, it could be an attraction. It's different for every player. Each player is different. It also matters for the player that is already on the team. I thought this was pretty interesting to me. This is what really stood out to me, is that everyone always assumes that it's the player that's being recruited in the relationship with Japanese players. But it also has to do with how badly does the players on that team want Roki Sasaki on their team. And I think that in the Dodgers case, you have to imagine that they want him, to help this team win championships. I think for the Padres, you have to imagine that Yu Darvish wants him on the Padres as well. So that's a big question. Now, when it comes to the Dodgers and their chances, one thing that you need to know from the Roki Sasaki agent press conference is he was asked about player pools. He was asked about international bonus pool money and how big of a factor it would be for teams that are on the lower end, teams like the Dodgers, teams on the higher end. Well, he had this to say about the money factor in all of this. He said, teams with smaller bonus pools, would it be tougher for them? Well, given the gap in bonus pools, they're so negligible. It's so negligible that his advice to Roki is don't make decisions based on that, because the long-term arc of your career is where you're going to earn your money. So it's probable, not advisable, to make a short-term decision in that regard. Take all of the factors into consideration. So if you're a Dodgers fan, that's something to feel good about. That's something to feel encouraged by, that they're not looking at, the Giants and the Padres and the Dodgers and all these teams, 4, 5, 6, 7 million, 8 million. The difference is negligible for someone like Roki Sasaki, because one, he signed up for this. If he wanted the money, he wouldn't be posted. He would not want to come here now when he could wait 2 years and sign a big bag. And two, endorsement deals. He can still make money that way. And three, the big bag is going to come once the organization that ends up signing him develops him and helps get him to a place where he can be in a position to sign a big contract. He still has to prove himself from that standpoint. So it's an even playing field. It's a level playing field. I don't think that you're going to see teams scrambling and scrambling. How do we trade off all these assets to get international bonus pool money to sign Roki Sasaki? No, money's a factor, but it's not everything. And I don't even think that it's one or two. I truly believe that Roki Sasaki wants to be with the team that puts him in the best position to be comfortable, to develop, and do what he wants to do, and that is be the best pitcher on the planet. That's what it's going to come down to. It's going to be a sales pitch. It's going to be, how do you prove to this guy, how do you convince him that your development, your coaches, your system, your analytics, the way that you do things benefits him, so he comes here at a young age and doesn't struggle, doesn't get injured, doesn't look like a guy that was this phenom that didn't pan out. No, he wants to have success on the highest level, and he wants to do it at the highest level. So the teams that are good at developing young pitching, like the Seattle Mariners, as John Morosi told me, like the Los Angeles Dodgers, right? Teams that have a track record of doing that, I think, are the teams that have the biggest advantage. And he wants to feel comfortable. He wants to feel comfortable. Now, he was asked if he considers smaller market teams. He did say to that question that there is an argument to be made that playing with a small market team might be beneficial to him to have a softer landing considering what he's been through in Japan. So he mentioned this a bunch of times. And if you watch my interview with Jim Allen, the NPB baseball expert, he mentioned that it was a very tumultuous relationship between Roki Sasaki and the Japanese media. I mean, it boiled down to them thinking that he hadn't done enough for the Chibalote Marines, that he was just trying to get out too early. There was a lot of friction there. I was told by an NPB reporter that they never even talked to him, that they didn't really have access to Roki Sasaki for the last couple of seasons. It was extremely minimal. So, look, maybe he does want to go to a smaller market team where you're not going to have tons of reporters and a lot of pressure on him at all times. We don't know that. Even Joel Wolf, his agent, said he did not know that. But he did indicate here, maybe slipped up a little bit, that a smaller market, a mid-level market, would be a softer landing, because this is someone who wants to pitch in this game for a long time. Let's remember, you get 3 minor league seasons, you get 3 arbitration years. So you get Roki Sasaki, you have him for 6 years on a team-controlled contract for a guy that right now could sign for $300+ million easily. So it's about getting the most of him and maximizing his talent. Now, he did say that the signing is going to take time between January 15th. It's going to take place between January 15th and January 23rd, and that there is an incentive for him to sign early so you can get that visa going, so you can start the process of transitioning to the show and be ready for spring training. And that's what he had to say. And my biggest takeaway there is, like, basically it was 25 minutes of, hey, you're going to, all teams are a possibility, but we don't want to make it seem like certain teams have advantages over other teams. Now, I was told that the Dodgers are still one of the favorites to sign him. You can't discount the Padres. I think the feeling here in Dallas is that the Dodgers and the Padres, they're on equal footing. But some have the Dodgers over. Some people think the Padres are bigger contenders as well. Now, this shifts us to what Andrew Friedman had to say about Roki Sasaki. And Andrew Friedman told us that he was a major priority. Andrew Friedman said that he was a major priority for the Dodgers. And this is kind of the first time that we really have seen the Dodgers come out and make it very clear that they're all in on Roki Sasaki. He said about Roki that he's incredibly talented, and that when it comes to the presentation of it all, it feels like they're in the early stages. He said that we haven't learned more at this point what the process will be, but hopefully we get an opportunity to sit down and meet him and make our presentation. The hope is that we do have Ohtani and Yamamoto. How it was going to have to happen to Yamamoto, the success with the Samurai Japan team and winning the World Baseball Classic and how well that team came together, it's an individual choice. For some people, that might be a positive. For us, it's about understanding that, putting our best foot forward, selling the city, the market, the opportunity, the growth, and development. So we know now that they're going all in on a presentation. I mean, you saw Shohei Ohtani's pitch had Kobe Bryant, a video of Kobe Bryant from the first time the Dodgers tried to sign him back after the 2017 season, trying to recruit him. So the Dodgers are going to pull out all the stops to get him to sign with the Dodgers. And he was asked about Ohtani Yamamoto's involvement, and he said, I'm sure that they'll talk, and I'm sure that they will. I don't know what their comfort level is, but I know that they would be honest with their opinions, and I think that would be really helpful for the Dodgers. So clearly, I think what we can take from this is the Dodgers are going to communicate with Yamamoto, with Shohei, and they're going to gauge how involved they want to be. And really the best thing for the Dodgers really is just, hey, tell Roki exactly how it is here. Because you don't need to say, oh, say this, say where that. You don't need to do that for the Dodgers. Your house is in line. You are buttoned up. You just won the World Series. You just put Yamamoto in a position where he missed almost 3 months, and he made very impressive starts in the World Series, in the NLCS, in the NLDS. And I think that even the Dodgers might not even know fully what those conversations would be between Yamamoto, Ohtani, and Roki Sasaki. I mean, think about that. These people have relationships that were all established before they were on this team. I mean, if you're in that position and you have a friend that you want to recruit to your job, I'm pretty sure you're going to give them the real inside scoop of what it's like to play there, to work there. And if you're the Dodgers, you create this model organization that all these players, even the ones that know they're not going to sign here, like Jack Flaherty knew he probably was going to sign here, and he still said he wanted to be back with the Dodgers, right? Walker Buehler said, I want to be here as long as they'll have me. Teoscar Hernandez has been over the moon with the Dodgers about when to re-sign here. You have free agent after free agent. Blake Trinan said the same thing. He re-signed here. Look, these are free agents. They can go anywhere and they want to be here. So if you're the Dodgers, you say, hey, just tell it like it is, and it'll probably benefit us. It'll probably shine us in a good light. And then Andrew Friedman said, really kind of their approach is, for us, it's about making our overall pitch. If everything were about money, everything will be different. We're going to put our best foot forward about what we feel like can provide short-term, long-term. So that's key to me. Short-term, long-term. You're going to look at him and you're not going to say, oh, we want you to be a part of the 6-man rotation in 2025 to help us go back-to-back. No, they're going to map out what the 6 years looks like. And Joel Wolf, Roki's agent, was asked about an extension and when's as soon as you can sign an extension. And he was very quick to point out that, one, you can't sign a big extension with a player that's been posted on a minor league contract because that's really forbidden. But look, I mean, I think the Dodgers know that it's in his best interest to have success. The money will come if you are effective, if you go out there and you perform. With the Dodgers, he fits into a 6-man rotation. And that's perfect for him. That's a perfect scenario to reduce that workload and make sure that when he's on the mound, he's at his best. He has a chance to have success. And Friedman will also say, with our pitching group, veteran players, and we do everything we can to put our best foot forward, but ultimately there's a personal decision and we'll respect whatever that is, but we want to feel like we represent our organization and our city to the best of our ability. He was asked if he was surprised that he was posted 2 years early. He said it's such an individual personal choice. Having gone through it when Ohtani did it, it's one of those things where we didn't know Ohtani at the time and what we know now, but it's really one of those things where they realized that the similarity between Ohtani and Roki was that they had these aspirations where it's not like, oh, we want to go to the show to kind of just be a good player. No. The similarity between Roki and Shohei is Shohei wants to be the best player ever. Roki wants to be the best player on the planet. Think about this. You only do these things if you're wired that way, if you have that talent, if you have that potential. Both those guys know that. I think that from the Dodgers standpoint, having gone through that pitch meeting and the process with Shohei Ohtani and having signed Shohei Ohtani, they know what this looks like. They know what this feels like, and they know what to spend their time on as far as this pitch. Like, how is a team like the Kansas City Royals or some of these mid-market teams that are kind of out there going to go through this process, right? So that's why I kind of push back on Joel Wolf's idea that everyone has an opportunity. Really, there's only a handful of teams at the very most. The Dodgers, the Padres can stretch that to maybe the New York elite teams. He did say that it's not a geography thing, that he doesn't adamant on playing on the West Coast, right? The Mariners. I don't think that there's a scenario where it's like that, where it's a lot of teams in the middle that are going to be kind of going for him. So this was the big one, though. This was the big one that he said, and Andrew Friedman said about the Dodgers and Roki Sasaki. He's someone that obviously is a major priority for us, and we're going to do whatever we can and know that there are a lot of other teams that are going to do the exact same thing. And so what that ultimately means at the end, I don't know. But as long as we have put our best foot forward, that's it. They feel good about that. They feel good about the effort. In 2017 with Shohei, we felt good about the effort. It didn't ultimately land with Shohei signing with us, but we controlled what we could control. We put the best presentation together. That's what we're going to focus on doing. So that's the number one thing you got to take away from Andrew Friedman and what he told us. And what he told us is that right there, that he said, didn't say a priority, didn't say we're kind of interested in him, didn't say it'd be great to have him on this team. He said major priority. And what we've seen recently is the Dodgers really, when the Dodgers really want something, they can get it. When the baseball ops department really wants something, they can put together a presentation, a selling point, a vision to get their guy. And one thing I was told about Juan Soto and their pursuit of Juan Soto was that it was a little more ownership driven than baseball ops driven. And I can tell you this, that Roki Sasaki is a dream for baseball ops. Because he's a lead, because he's a superstar, right? Because he is cost controlled, and you can never have enough pitching. So I personally think that internally, as far as everything they're going to be working on, the legwork, the presentations, the analytics, all the work they're going to be doing, I think that it's going to be light years harder and deeper than what they did for Juan Soto. Because I don't think that they thought that would get Juan Soto at that price. And it was probably more on, okay, Shohei will show him we go after him because that's the right thing to do, but also ownership as well. But I really truly believe that this baseball ops department and this organization, I mean, he's really a perfect fit for this team. But let's go down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on Roki Sasaki? We got Anthony Santander, if we miss out on Teo, Michael Boyer, having Dave Roberts as his manager that can communicate Roki Sasaki, plus the fact Yoshi and Ohtani can also make him feel comfortable. The fact that we are favorites to repeat as World Series champions has to be appealing to a prospect. Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. I mean, you just kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together too, and you kind of think to yourself, wait a minute, this is the guy that he was inspired because of the WBC. Well, you wouldn't be inspired because of the WBC unless you were playing in those later rounds, unless you were competing for a championship, which they ultimately won. If he wants to experience Major League Baseball on the highest level, you only do that in the postseason. It's not like the NBA where like every single team makes the NBA. The NBA's ratings are down. The NBA is a watered down league because fans don't tune into the regular season as much as they used to. The early rounds is blowout after blowout. Baseball, the postseason, even though it's expanded, it's still less and it's still more special. You still have less games in that first round too. So, I mean, look, I think that's got to be very appealing. I totally agree. But I do think that it's tough to define what's comfortable for these pitchers and guys like Roki Sasaki. But a couple more here, guys. We're at 1:15. I realize it was that long. But D-Mac, since you're there, check out the aquarium in downtown Dallas. Tayo Serrano might have that aquarium. We went to a Dallas Cowboys game yesterday. We had a great time. Tickets, man, you couldn't even pay for a michelada for how cheap. You could get what did we get it for? $23. Me and Noah for $23. Yes, we were in the nosebleed seats, second to last row, but Jerry's World is a great place to watch a football game, and it was quite the experience. But the Teo is clutch. He brings vibes. Hits grand slams. Brought more toughness. I don't know. That's from him. Clay, Jim, Kershaw. We got sign Vladdy and move him to third. That's from YC. Look, Vladdy has played third in the past. Nick Park, if Teo doesn't resign, he wasn't meant to be a Dodger. Devin, do you think Corbin is waiting for Roki to sign before making a decision? That's from Devin. I don't necessarily think that. I think you're seeing the Scott Boras clients play out like Scott Boras clients, right? I mean, Snell, he signs. Juan Soto, he signs. And then what does Scott Boras do? He presents his clients to teams that did not sign the star that they wanted to sign, and he tries to do it that way. You're never going to see all of Scott Boras' clients sign on one day. So, yeah, I think Corbin Burns sees the contract that Max Fried got, and he's going to be well north. I mean, we could see 240, 250 for Corbin Burns at the end of the day. So, a couple more here, guys. Austin Reeves. Okay, we got bring back Teo. D-Mac, tell us about MNF. Dan, I'll give you the full Monday Night Football story when we get back. How about that? We've hit a lot of topics on today's show. We got a $4.99 super chat. As long as DV doesn't say they're close. Oh, come on now. DV's the man. Don't be mean to Dave Vassay, man. Dave Vassay is a great dude. You Dodgers fans love him, and yeah, I think hopefully Teo signs with the Dodgers. But BC, this team needs to get younger. Hepatitis, see you later. Seiya Suzuki to LA if Teo doesn't sign. BC Burns wants LA. Everybody knows that. $2. Who'd you root for in the game yesterday? I can tell you that one. 100%. Well, not I guess. Well, Dallas Cowboys, because I was in a fantasy matchup. I needed CeeDee Lamb to do well, and that last catch on the last drive put me over the top and won me this fantasy matchup that put me in the playoffs. So, got to go for that. D-Mac trade for Kyle Tucker. We'll talk more about that. If we hear more about that for sure. But that's going to do it, guys, for this episode of Dodgers Dugout Live. My name is Doug McKain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMac_LA. We'll be at the winter meetings all week. We'll be there tomorrow, getting more interviews, getting more access, behind-the-scenes stuff for you guys. It was really cool today, really. I mean, to be in Andrew Friedman's suite, no video, no nothing, just kind of hearing from the man himself, kind of where this organization is at. And yeah, we're here to bring you guys all the Dodgers content we can give you guys. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Go to dodgersnation.com. Follow us on X and Instagram. And be on the lookout for anything that breaks, because we'll be going live very shortly after that. It'd be great to get a Teo announcement, really one way or the other at this point. But that's going to do it for this episode. Like I said, follow us. My name is Doug McKain. And remember that nothing brings together quite like